All right, welcome back to episode number 8 here at the Reimagine Roofing Podcast. Got a super awesome guest today, Jeff Ramsden, our VP of Business Development here. Really excited to kind of learn more about you, hear your backstory, and see everything you've done in the industry and what you're doing now. So let's kind of get started at the beginning. How did you, how did you break into sales day one, and what was kind of your experience with sales out of the gate? Was it door to door, call center leads, or what were you doing in sales and what were you selling?
Oh man, you could probably already imagine. I sold sneakers. That was the first thing that I actually sold. I just had a massive love for sneakers when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was a big thing. So I asked my mother if I can get a job at Champs.
Nice.
I was going to turn 16. I wanted a car. I needed to have, proof of income for a car loan. I was just really into cars and shoes. So I was like, how do I buy a car? Maybe I should just sell shoes.
Yeah.
So,
and were they paying you guys commission, or was it just an hour? No, it was commission too?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It was commission. I was 15. I would get dropped off at work. And, I started loving like the adrenaline rush of making a sale.
Yeah.
And just, I was a top salesperson at 15.
Nice.
So
nice.
Once I did that, I was like, I think this might be like a good route for me, So,
yeah. So what happened? So at Champs, how long were you at Champs?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Did they pay you guys in shoes, or like a lot of the bonuses, top sales rep get a fresh pair of kicks or something?
For sure. Yeah. They used to give us shoes, cool clothes, things like that. So
Nice.
It was a pretty sweet job to work when you were going to school.
Okay. Awesome. So then you got you graduated high school, or what came after Champs?
Graduated high school, went to a community college in New York, in Poughkeepsie.
Is that where you're from? Yeah, you're from New York?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little upstate, like an hour or so north of the city.
Okay.
So they had a good community college there. I got my business, 2-year business degree there.
Okay.
Then I went off to South Carolina. Got a different degree in sports and entertainment management in the
Okay.
hospitality program they had.
And what college was that at?
University of South Carolina.
Okay. Gamecocks?
Yeah, love the
Nice,
Gamecocks.
Awesome.
So yeah, I went down there.
What
and
made
got
you
that
pick
degree.
South Carolina from New York? That seems like a big shift.
I just spent like a lot of my childhood in South Carolina. We've had a house there, since I was a young kid. So
Okay.
I'd spend my whole summers in South Carolina. Just had a huge love for it. It was like
Nice.
a second home.
Okay.
And then it was just a very natural progression. Like, I'll just go down to Saturday. I had
Yeah.
friends there. So
Okay.
I just wanted to go to a bigger school, experience football,
Yep.
SEC, things like that. So
Yeah, I mean that was the same
know.
reason I chose ASU. It was either ASU or Florida State, but I knew I had to go to some school, and it was at the time they just had James Harden on the basketball side, so I was looking for a school that was good in football and basketball, so I could experience both. Definitely understand that. So you went to South Carolina, got the degree in business and sports entertainment, and then. What did you do with that? Were you like me, where you kind of got the degree, but you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, and I'm just going to go figure out, what's next.
Precisely. Actually, I went back home to New York. I was super pumped. I'm like, I got this great education now. This huge education bill I got to pay, and then I got a job offer at Madison Square Garden. So,
Okay.
Dream job. Huge Knicks fan.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Sorry
this
about
is
that.
great. Yeah, thank you. I was going for the interview, and I actually was getting the job, and they were like, all right, so, we expect you to move in New York City. You're going to make about $60,000. And I was like, okay, like where am I going to live? And you know what I mean? Like, so unless you have a place in the basement for me to stay here, it's not going to work, So I found out really quickly that I needed to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
So back to sales,
Yeah, especially if you're going to be in New York City. I mean, one thing if that was like in South Carolina or somewhere else, but that'd be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's undoable. So back to upstate New York. Ended up getting a job with one of my great friends. My friend Mike D got me a job, and it was knocking on doors selling cable.
Okay.
So
Like Time Warner or something?
Cablevision. That's actually the company that owned the Knicks. In
Okay,
Madison
okay.
Square Garden,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
ironically, I ended up working for them, but
Just a little different job.
Yeah, but
Okay.
definitely in a different capacity. So
And talk a little about that, breaking into it, because I mean, door to door is not for the weak of heart, or even you have to be physically and mentally tough. It's hard walking around but it's also hard getting just the door slammed in your face. So what was it like? How did you kind of work through that, and what motivated you, and what were some of your coping mechanisms to kind of get to where you are now from that point?
So thankfully, I think aligning yourself with the right people is super important. Thankfully I had a great mentor that got me the job. Like I was saying, my friend Mike, he really taught me a lot about the mental toughness aspect of it and just going out there and putting in the grind and the work. It's definitely not for everybody. It's a tough one. And then especially at New York. I mean, my first day out in the field with him, I mean, I went out in the middle of December, and it's like we're in winter coats. It's sleeting. It's hailing. He actually like backed over someone's trash can on the way out of the driveway. Just, it's crazy. But I really just didn't want to fail at it. I just wanted to be successful at it. I knew that there was a lot of money that you could make. So I always wanted to be just a top performer, and it's a hard job, but what's easy to make money, everything is going to require work and to develop your skill set and everything. So thankfully I had him to lean on to teach me the ropes. He had been doing it a long time before me. So I kind of just took what worked for him. And then as you develop your own experience, you take pieces that you learn from everybody and make your own style. And, I did that for 7 years, which is a ridiculous amount of time to be knocking on doors.
Yeah. And so just to clarify, you were just selling like, hey, you have DirecTV, switch over to this as a cable, right?
Yeah. I mean, you would just basically get a sheet of paper. You'd get like 300 sheets of paper at the beginning of the month. And they'd be like, you know what I mean? And you'd go and you'd know it was like Mrs. Robinson, and she disconnected cable service 3 years ago.
Okay.
So then if you pull up to the house, you could see like, okay, she has a satellite dish or she has a Verizon box. And you could say like, hey, you left us 3 years ago from Verizon or satellite. I'm here to make an offer to try to win your business back. And it does not go over great sometimes because you're the cable person. Their bill went up and up. I called you guys, or you didn't work with me. And,
and it's a little intrusive too, like for you to like to just show up.
Middle of dinner. Middle of dinner. It's dark out, like they're looking out, trying to figure out who you are. You still need a sale for the day, so it's like 7:30. It feels like it's midnight because it gets dark at 5. So there's just so many different challenges to that. So,
and did you do all 7 years in New York, or what?
All 7 in New York. So, very interesting too, because like I said, I'm from more upstate New York. So I went from upstate New York, like Fishkill areas and Dutchess County down to Yonkers. So after being there for 7 years, you're talking to the same people sometimes. You get the same neighborhood and you're like, oh, damn, Miss Robinson again. And you're going back repeatedly talking to the same people. So it adds a whole nother element to it.
Definitely. Awesome. So then what came after that?
After that, so during that time, I actually paid it forward a little bit that Mike did for me. I did for others. When people would get hired, they would ask me to train them and take them out in the field with me, show them what my typical day looked like, what my conversations look like. And I did that for a gentleman that ended up becoming a good friend of mine. And he went out to California and got a manager role in Time Warner. A couple years later, he kept getting promoted. He ended up finding himself in a director role, and he just would harass me constantly about quitting, knocking doors, and coming out there and running an actual sales organization for him. So after like 6 months of him just, hounding me, he flew me out to California. I saw San Diego, really liked it. And I was like, you know what? He put together a great offer. So I ended up, moving out to California, took my package to transfer. And I started actually running a sales org, and he's like, I just need you to teach like 50 people what you taught me, and we'll be doing great. So,
and what was that company, or what were you guys selling?
That was Time Warner.
Warner, okay.
You almost had it. You just put it right before the So I ended up going to Time Warner, and then they ended up getting bought out. I worked my way up there. I got into a director role because that my friend left, went on to do other things. I ended up taking his position. And then we got bought out by another company, and going through a merger is very tough. You know? So they brought in a lot of their own people. They changed a lot of the things that they did. And then I actually got a friend of mine worked for Tesla. So that's how I bridged into solar, actually. So he recruited me for Tesla. I got a sales manager position there. So I did take a step down, but I felt like it was a big step forward because it was going towards an industry that I thought was more for the future. Cable is a dying breed, I mean, everyone's just gonna have the internet. I don't even have cable anymore. I worked for the company for 8 years. So, I thought it was the next thing for me. So
definitely
went into the solar.
And talk a little bit about what you as you were training these 50 people, like what was the message that you were passing on to them? What were some key things that that you've now learned are universal, because that's also something that you're bringing to Reimagine Roofing. I mean, you've been here since you've been here. You're one of our, that first bulk of hires. What is it now? 9, 10 months, maybe a year.
Yeah, coming up soon.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
And you've really grown into this role. Like when you first started off, you were doing a lot on your own. But as we've had more and more young people that needed to be mentored, you've really stepped into that, naturally, and that's been a huge help. So, what are some of the things that you would share with a day one salesperson, maybe someone listening to this that is just getting into solar, just getting into roofing, or just getting into anything in sales that are some universal truths across the board?
So for me, I mean, I really enjoy the mentorship part of things and just passing along that knowledge and giving people the shortcuts that take so much time to learn. I definitely really take pride in that, and I love when you teach somebody something and they're able to go be successful with it. So I've always enjoyed that. So stepping into that role was a perfect fit for me.
Yep.
Because I had the knowledge of what it really took by being out there in the trenches for the 7 years and be able to pass along those things. So one of the biggest things for me is that it's always about it's the time that you're putting into anything, right? So if you don't know cable, you don't know solar, you don't know roofs, whatever the case is, it's really up to you to educate yourself, to be the subject matter expert, and to put the actual work in. And I mean, it's kind of like cliche, but it's, like a Kobe Bryant actually said it. And it's, if everybody else is working 8 hours a day and you work 12, then that's going to continue to compound over time and over the years. And if you're willing to put that extra time in, you're going to see yourself distance yourself from your other peers as you put those extra hours in. And I think I've always just kept that mindset and everything, because if I work that through the whole month, I've actually worked 5 weeks in the month, not really 4. So if I continue to apply that, and I think that goes for anything that you're doing, if you could constantly apply that kind of method of thinking, then you could be successful, because everybody's going to have their own different methods of things, but it's all about putting the right time in.
And I think, one thing to kind of really like pull out from that equation of 12 hours that's important is that the time you're putting in isn't just like menial labor. It's not just like repetitive things. You're putting in time to learn roofing, or you're putting in time to better yourself as a salesperson. I think that's what's missed a lot of times when people think, oh man, I worked a 10-hour or 12-hour day. How did you actually use that time? Did you have 4 hours, sitting around, and did you spend those 4 hours bettering yourself? Because then if you're putting in 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 4 of those is developing yourself, you quickly move up in your skill set, your income, and just your overall impact. And I think that's one thing that you do really well, is that you're constantly, putting in the time, like end of the month coming up, I'm going to go grind out, I'm going to sign some deals, but also every time we have a group call or every time we have a call, there's something there. There's a little nugget that we're unpacking. We're like, hey, I used this time. This worked so well. Next time I'm going to use this as well. And I think it's that constant growth and really treating your profession as a craft, as a basketball player, as a tennis player, something that you're honing. That's what I think a lot of people miss, is that it's all about the grind and not enough about the growth. And I think that's something that, you're speaking to right now, that you continue to get better, and that made it so you could increase your income, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's like, speaking to that, it's about getting that formula that works best for you. And when you get to certain points, it might change a little bit. Like when I first took on this role, it's more of, a lot more education. And then once you start figuring it out and then you get busy, it's 100%, to the wall of let's put as much time in here, and then you're going to fill in those gaps. So, I mean, 70% of your time should be working on the actual task, but then that other 30 needs to be personal development, learning the craft, being the subject matter expert. And you have to, and most people just think that the 100% of their workday is just that 70% piece. And they forget about doing the other things.
Definitely. And then do you have any sales leaders or mentors that you really connect with? I know, like, obviously Kobe Bryant on the sports side, or any books that were really, monumental to you. For me, it was, Pitch Anything by Orrin Claff was one that always stood out to me, but really Never Split the Difference. I forget the author's name now, but we're actually reading that right now as a sales team. Was there anything, any specific mentor like that's maybe on YouTube or a book that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the Never Split the Difference book is great. That's definitely up there. Some of I mean, believe it or not, like Art of War is a great one to read. Like some of those classic books, like How to Win Friends. What's it called?
And influence people.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, that's a great one. How to Be a Rainmaker is a great one. Those things, but definitely the mentorship. Going back to it, I think I've been very lucky with that. You know, my sales background and my sales skills directly related to my friend Mike. He was unbelievable in teaching that. My brother's been a great mentor. My brother's been great at aligning us both with very successful mentors. So, I mean, I've been to conferences and heard some of the best leaders speak. Like Ed Milet is one of my favorite ones that I've constantly listened to and still do.
Yep.
Love him. We've been around some really successful real estate professionals because, you know, we have done real estate transactions. So my brother's big into real estate, so I've been able to align myself with people that have run different types of businesses and get their expertise, go to these things that really cost a lot of money to join. These things are not cheap. These are like $10,000 memberships to these mentorship programs, and I've been blessed to be a part of that, you know, due to the fact that my brother always gets me involved, and they are nice enough to include us both in the package. So I've been able to benefit tremendously from those things, and like the boardroom meetings and masterminds and different things like that have really shaped how I think, because it's a totally different mindset, and you're a complete epitome of this. Like that's how you think. You're a very big mindset guy, and it really trickles down to other factors in your life. It's monumental, the power of your brain and the shifting of thinking, and just how you look at different things has been huge in my growth.
Yeah, and actually that was, you know, it was our training tip of the day today that you know, really jumped out to me, and you know, was talking about the 4-minute mile. You know, the guy that, you know, for the longest time, medical doctors, scientists all said that if you ran a 4-minute mile, literally your heart would stop. Like you'd run out of oxygen, you would die. You know, and everybody believed that, so nobody ran a 4-minute mile. And then in 1954, when that 4-minute mile was broken, within a week, over 1,000 people had also broke the 4-minute mile. Like literally just the act of believing that you could do it now, 1,000 people could have done it before
Absolutely.
that. And it's just, you know, those kind of stories are things that just really blow my mind and just show how much, you know, mindset can affect everything. And we've seen it time and time again in the company, just across the board. Was there a moment when you kind of came into this and you like said, wow, now I'm a roofer? Like, was there like can you kind of look back and say one day that you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this happen. Like, I don't know really anything about roofing. And then, I mean, because now you just crank these things out like clockwork.
You know, I think it's funny. It kind of happened when other people started calling me for help. So then they would call me and they would ask me a question. I would actually know the answer. And I'm like, oh, damn, like I'm actually, shit, I know like roofs and stuff. You know? So that it kind of just kind of hit me in those little waves. And now, you know, I love being the subject matter expert on things. I love being the person that people can call and count on and get help. So I have definitely become that person in the last couple months for people. And I love that. You know, I like that I'm able to just give them the shortcuts that took me, you know, months to figure out. And as we bring people in and scale, that'll be very helpful for us to just be able to grow quicker and just have people more comfortable in their position and seat, and then know that they always have somebody to go to and ask. So now I'm to a point where 9 times out of 10 I should know the answer. If not, then I call Jeff Lacombe.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and I always have said the best way to learn something is to teach it. Because there'll be times when I'm like teaching something in the middle of it, I'm like, wow, I actually don't know what I'm talking about.
And I've had those moments many a times too, when you start diving into something and you're like, wow, that was a little janky. Next one, I know how to go through that smoother, you know? So,
Yeah, so the big thing you're learning now is insurance, right?
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So talk a little about the challenges with that, what you've done to try to learn it better, you know, maybe what resources that you've used, you know, in our network, and just what has helped you learn insurance better.
So, Benjamin for sure, because I mean,
Adam Benjamin?
Yeah, Adam's the man. Yeah. So I got kind of stuck with, I got thrown a lot of them at once. I got like 5 insurance jobs all of a sudden out of nowhere. You know, I've never done one before. Then all of a sudden now I got all these things coming in, all these documents. This one goes here. So I had a lot of different struggles kind of getting organized with that. Like, who do I call for this? The adjuster. Then the adjuster doesn't answer. Then, you know, you're juggling those things back and forth.
And some of these are coming from our solar partners too, right? It was like, hey, they were going to go solar, but now they want to go insurance. And so it's like, now you're juggling, an extra ball in the air of solar as you're trying to do it with insurance.
Exactly. And then not even knowing how the insurance, so learning how to read a scope of loss sheet and, how to get supplements done, how you negotiate the supplements, who you call for what. And just how to treat everything, and then every job is different, So
the biggest thing when I learned insurance, just the shock factor to realize that it wasn't black and white. It was like I thought insurance, like I almost thought of it like as a government agency, like hey, if something's damaged, it's going to be covered, and it costs $10,000. But then you see the exact same damage on two homes, and one carrier might give you 5, another gives you 15. You realize, wait, hold on, this is all a giant game, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could get a different estimate if the adjuster had a bad day. The guy gets in a fight with his girlfriend, and all of a sudden you're getting a $3,000 claim instead of a full re-roof. And that's kind of what has happened. And I had to fight tooth and nail for one guy that's exactly what happened. The guy got a $3,000 claim, and we had to fight tooth and nail. And I just got it approved for $21,000. We actually just got our deposit today.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's something if you haven't learned yet, you're in the process of learning that part of what goes into insurance too is that the loudest mouth gets fed, or the most persistent, squeaky wheel gets oiled. And having somebody like you that has that persistence, and you're never one to back down from anything, and you're like, it almost, for me, it used to become like, I'm going to get this money. Like, I don't even.
For sure. It's like a competition at that point.
Exactly. And so having an advocate like you, I mean, that's huge for our homeowners. That's huge for our solar partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was actually kind of a blessing, because getting that many deals at once really helped me just really lock in, because it wasn't just one deal. Like, all right, it's easy to kind of let one deal, like, all right, I'll kind of I'll figure it. Yeah, exactly. But then when you get 4 or 5 at once, now it's like, I better really polish myself now, because now there's a lot at stake. I need to close these all down. So that's one of those things that after work and I got those in, it's when my work day finished up and I finished my last call, 8, 9 o'clock at night, you eat dinner, then it's sit back down in front of the couch, pop up YouTube on the TV, and let's watch some roof strategist videos. What I mean? So you spend a few hours doing that. And one of the great things about here is that you always give us the tools. So if you don't have the information, or if you don't, then it's really your own fault, So I went back into the roof strategist. He has a lot of insurance stuff in there. So I just kind of refamiliarized myself, because that was something that I didn't really focus on when I went through it the first time. Because I didn't do many insurance deals. And then all of a sudden they all came at me, but it was great because I knew, I have the resources here. Let's just lock in. Let's spend, instead of trying to struggle through these and limp, let me take 8 or 9 hours and really educate myself, get the help I need, and then I'm going to dive back in and I'm going to close all 4 of these things.
And you're also going to save yourself a massive amount of time, because you could limp through all of those at 6 hours at a time, for a total of, let's say, 24 hours, or you can go spend 8 hours, really learn it, and now all those rest of the claims become 1-hour jobs. And then you've cut your time in half by just putting in the work on the front end to pay yourself out on the back end. Not to mention the commission, obviously, by closing the 4 of the roofs, Yeah,
absolutely. And now when the next one comes in, I know here are the steps that I take. So now I can crank those things out, which is great, because I want to be able to, no matter what comes my way, just be able to crank it out very quickly with speed. One of the cornerstones of our company is speed. So just being able to attack everything that comes my way with speed, whether it's, a solar company or solar partner that needs a roof, or if it's, a shade structure or a ground mount or an insurance deal, I want to be able to know how to do every single thing. So that's what I've really dove in at and really leaned in to just be the subject matter expert on everything for the company, not just the roofs, but just really just be a person that people can depend on for information.
Definitely. Awesome. Cool. So let's kind of back up. Let's say Tesla. We're back at Tesla. How long did you work there? You built some sales team there, and you guys were selling solar door to door?
I actually was on the battery end at the time. I actually don't even remember. So many things changed there. It was like I got hired as sales manager in solar. Then we did the full merger happen with, it was funny. I went from one merger to another merger. I was like, sweet, another one. Then they merged with Solar City. We did do a lot of solar deals. I managed a solar team of about 8 people. But then they shifted me into the batteries and heading up the battery division, which we sold a bunch of batteries, and there was a battery shortage. So a lot of different things happened, and a lot of people, like people that I came to work with, got shipped out with the merger. So it was really a tough place at the time.
Yeah, you kind of just lose all that momentum and that, good feelings.
Yeah, they take the wind out of your sail a little bit, and you don't really know if you have job security or not.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel like it was, so I ended up working for kind of like an independent broker for SunPower Sunrun, and I got a director of sales role and recruited a bunch of people that I knew that sold solar after, working with Tesla for 18, 19 months. I developed a little bit of a network, brought a lot of those solar reps in. Trained them, got them out there, and we did well. I made some good money in there, but as you know, sometimes solar companies could be a bit shady.
Yep.
And the person that owned the company ended up dissolving the company and things like that.
And so, was part of the reason you left Tesla just kind of it sounds like it's a lot of the negative feeling with it. And what I've always found in sales is it's such an emotional profession. Like it's probably maybe the most emotional one out there. That if you have your ups or your downs, like it affects your sales so much. And that's why I think it's just so important that, as sales teams or just salespeople in general, that they control their mental well-being, and that, you make sure you're doing the things that keep you in that good mental state. So what are some of the things that you do, whether, working out, eating right, or just maybe running? What are some things that you do that help keep you, mentally healthy, or possibly bring you back if you have a week where, you didn't hit the sales numbers, or a month? What are some ways that you keep that the emotional stability required to be successful at sales?
This is going to sound really funny, but I'm a big sports guy. So like I watch a couple different things that Peyton Manning did about not getting too high and not getting too low, and keeping that even, like just staying in there no matter how great you're doing or how bad it is. Just keep yourself in between those two levels, and that's really helped me. So that has been one of the things that I always focus on. Even when I have like a great week, it's like pump the brakes a little bit. You still got next week. Next week is going to come. So keeping that mindset is huge. I think just the mindset of it is really important. But then, like you said, to have different outlets to blow off steam. I play a lot of golf. I play on the weekends with my brother. So I love that as an outlet. Sometimes I come back more frustrated than I got to the course.
Yeah.
But it's still a great outlet to just, take 2 or 4 hours just out there to just clear your mind and not focus on things that are stressing you out, and you're just playing a game of golf, So that's one of my biggest outlets. Spending time with my dog, obviously, as you know, I bring her to the office all the time.
Should have brought her in today for the podcast.
Yeah, I know. I got yelled at that I didn't. So, but yeah, just things like that to blow off steam and just have those kind of hobbies are great. And then, I'm a big family person, so that's why I ended up in Arizona. My brother has a 3-year-old, loves spending time with her, loves spending time with my brother. So doing all those things is kind of how I keep my mental sanity with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so one strategy that I developed, in line with that Peyton Manning concept is one thing that has really helped me is constantly extending the timeline. So if I had a 1-week goal to sell, $100 worth of stuff, and I hit that, let's say I also have a month goal of $400. Well, I'm only $100 to my $400 goal, so I'm only 1/4 of the way. Let's say I hit my month goal of $500. Well, then, or $400. Maybe then I have a quarter goal of $1,500. Well, now I'm only at $400 out of $1,500. Let's say I hit my $1,500. Then I have a year goal of $6,000. Whatever that. And if you just keep extending your horizon, you're only ever halfway there, or a quarter way there, or a percentage of the way there, and that way you celebrate your wins. And I used to do the same thing in fitness with my personal training clients. We would have weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals of like weight, and a lot of people have that, but they don't kind of think of it the way I used to think of it, as like a like a bar graph that you're filling up. Like I'm only 25% of the way there, 30%, and it kind of keeps you focused. Like, dang, I'm only 30% to my goal. Like I haven't really done anything, So just kind of that's a good idea for anybody out there that is looking at ways to think in numbers. Like I think you think a lot like in kind of the big ideas and like milestones, whereas I'm like a super analytical. Like I got to break everything up by numbers, or else it's just like it could go on for years. So
what I do, one of the things that really helps me is, let's say if I have a goal to hit, like let's say if this month I want to do 200,000 in roofs, let's say, right, and then let's say if I hit that, then I look, what's the next milestone that I might be able to get to?
Yep.
And then I'll push myself even harder to try to get to that. And it's usually in a crunch, right? Like it's towards the end of the month, and you got to put the pressure on yourself. And I've always done well in that type of environment. So at the end, if I hit the 200 grand, it's not time for me to go relax. It's time like, what's the next step that I could get to? Can I get to $250,000?
Yep.
And then it's like, who could I call? Who could I call?
Yep,
And then
yep.
you're really trying to scrape that plate because you want to get to the next milestone.
And that emotion transfers out, and sales is so emotional that now you're excited, now you're ready, and like that's when you're hitting your stride. Like when you get that first sale, that second sale, it's real. The sales momentum, like just like a hot, you're on a hot streak, like a hot shooter. Same thing in sales. Like you go 6 for 6. You're like, oh my gosh, I can close anybody on anything.
You just get into a rhythm and you can't miss.
Yeah,
That's exactly how it is.
100%. So after that solar company was coming back to that. After that solar company was dissolved, then what happened next? Is that when you joined us, or was there something?
No. So I was just buying houses at that point.
Okay.
We had the market was good for wholesale deals and fix and flips. So I started working with my brother, started working with the wholesale business, and we did really well. We got a bunch of houses, bunch of projects, and then I really enjoyed that. So then I became a project manager for a fix and flip company as I did that as well, right?
Yeah.
So. Because once me and my brother automated some of the processes and we didn't have to constantly be on the phone, I went and got a job doing something I really liked, which was the project manager thing. So I was just reconstructing houses. We would be doing roofs, windows, flooring, so it really helped me kind of learn the construction business and, help bridge the gap into roofing and things like that. So that was great. I really enjoyed doing that. And I had a lot of experience doing it from our own fix and flip projects that we've been doing for years,
Awesome.
So that was a great role for me to step in. And then I realized I liked the construction industry. You know what I mean? I just think that there's always going to be money in it. It's always something that you can learn. There's always a new innovative thing going on. So I really like the industry.
Yeah, and I think my favorite part about the construction industry is it's always been here. It's always going to be here. It may change, like we were building stuff with sticks and stones, and now we're building stuff with 3D printers, but we're still building stuff. And no matter what, I think we're always going to be in, having to build stuff, and you're in that industry, you're evolving with it, as opposed to being, in something specific that then technology can, outcompete you or make you irrelevant. Other great thing is it's really hard to swing a hammer, so the robots, hopefully we can keep them at bay for another 50 years, and we might all still have jobs.
Yeah, you still got to get them up on the roof, too. Someone's got to hoist them up there.
Yeah, they got bigger things to worry about right now. So, all right, so you did that remodeling. How long did you do that for?
Probably like a year and a half, I want to say, for that guy. And then that's when I kind of transitioned out here and came to Arizona because then, we had COVID and all that other stuff.
Okay.
So once that all kind of died down.
Shut down all the business.
Yeah, exactly. And then, soon thereafter that, once I needed to find a job, I could work from home, right? Because COVID shut us down. So then I was like, how do I work from home in construction? Sales guy, I'm like, let me sell construction software. You know what I mean? So then I got that when COVID started hitting, and I worked from home selling software to construction companies and all different facets, which was great because, again, I got to learn so much about construction industry, doing so many presentations with them. You really get to learn about their business and how they run it, which I loved. I loved soaking up the knowledge of that, and everybody had something else to learn from. So selling them the software packages was great. I made good money, but it was very redundant, which wasn't for me. I don't like the redundancy of just doing the same presentation every day. You follow the script, you're doing a presentation. It was brutal, like by the time I know you're working from home, but by the end of your 9 or 10 hour shift, it's like you're exhausted because, your back hurts. You've been in the chair the whole day. It's like, I need to be able to at least move around or have some freedom. So it got old for me pretty quickly.
And I feel like, especially on the mental aspect of being at home, I feel like that would be even worse in my mind because like now you're not like you get to go relax, but now you're just still in the same like space.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's one thing, like working from home could be great if you enjoy your job, but I feel like it could also be like a jail cell if like you hated your job.
That's exactly how it felt, and it's because you have to be in the same stationary thing. It's like, at least if you're working from home, like do it, like for instance, now if I work from home, I'm on the phone, I can walk around, you know what I mean? Like, and we're having those normal conversations with people, and it's exciting. The phone rings off the blue, and now I have to pivot, and I like the action. With that, there's no action. It's just like, here's your calendar, and you're just like waiting for the next one, and it didn't. I'm too high energy of a guy for that. Like,
and I think it was not dynamic enough as well, because it seems like what you've always, every time I talk to you, you're working on a metal project, a Spanish clay, a foam project. It's like, learning 19 things at once. So I
love
imagine
that.
doing the
Yeah,
same podcast or
exactly.
same presentation every single time would be brutal.
Yeah, I like getting into different stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like just doing the same thing was absolutely vicious. So
Yep.
that's when the money was great, but I just wasn't that happy with it. So that's when I applied to Reimagine, and then
How'd you find us?
I think it was like Indeed or something
Okay.
like that, and I saw like a VP of sales, VP of marketing, VP. We had like a bunch of like it was our first round of hiring that we were doing. So I'm like, these people are hiring. It's looks like an awesome company. And then I went in and met you, and I'm like, you know what, this kind of just I had like a good gut feeling, when you just got like a great gut feeling, and then. Of course, I had to tell my family I'm leaving a 6-figure position, and I go in. They're like, "Well, tell me about the internet. How'd it go?" I'm like, "I don't know. There's this young guy with a man bun. He was awesome, and I liked what he said, and I might quit. And I might go. I think I'm gonna go over there and work with him,
take a massive pay cut,
and just see what happens. Like, I had a good gut feeling about it, and I figured I would enjoy this a lot more, and I mean, the gamble definitely paid off, which was, you're a startup in an industry that I'm not very well versed. Like I have obvious like rehab experience, but I'm not a roofer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the first thing my family said. Like, you're not what? Like you're going, you're going to a roofing company. So it was very surprising to the people that were closest to me. But now fast forward, I was in South Carolina with my whole family not long ago, and they were like, "This is awesome that you've literally found the perfect," because the mix of my experience is kind of weird and. It's everything literally that we do: construction, work with solar industry, sales. It's like all of the stuff that I've, spent a lot of time working on the last 25, 30 years is now, I'm able to kind of put it all into action. And I just found like the perfect position, perfect role. And at first when I started, it was like, we didn't really know what I was going to be doing. You were just like, I don't know, you're VP of something, we'll figure it out. And then, as things kind of progressed and things move forward, I did many different things and many different hats until finally you were just like, we got all this business that should be ours, and it's just sitting there. What can you do? And then I like blew through it and sold like like $280,000 worth of stuff in my first month. And you were like, all right, this is working. And then you didn't say anything since then, so I just been keeping doing it. So I love being in that role. I really found like the niche, the role. I've sold 1.15 million so far. I mean,
that's awesome.
I've only been in it for 6.5 months, really. So
that's
great
awesome.
Progression, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future holds, because if I was doing that, not really like while spending so much time educating myself and learning these things, and now that I can spend more time focusing on helping other people, that I'm past that and helping grow my own business, getting more referrals, establishing myself as that brand. As I get more people that says, you got to call Jeff, he's going to take care of your roof, or if you need a shade structure. So I'm really excited to see where it goes, because it's going to snowball down a hill the next couple of years.
100%. 100%. Yeah, so talk a little bit about what it's been like being here, like on maybe the roller coaster aspect of it, where there are times that, I think all of us have felt at one time or another like, oh my gosh, is this really going to work? And then other times like, oh my gosh, this is really going to work. Like, and so talk to me a little bit about maybe a high point, low point, or like times you're like, what did I get myself into? But then times like where it just clicked and you're like, wow, this is like, I'm on a rocket ship.
All right. So, I mean, perfect examples, like, when we were talking about like the blitz scaling thing, right? And we're blitz scaling. It was a concept that was kind of crazy to me, right? Because you're just like, let's just do stuff. And I know that stuff's not going to work. You know what I mean? And that's all right. So one of our ideas was like, what? November, and we're like, let's do Christmas lights, and I was like, all right, let's do it, so we put together a quick website, did some leads, got some, and then I was like, all right, now we got to get to quoting, and then it was like, we can't find the lights. It was like, we were going to go to Home Depot at one point. It just became a complete, disaster.
We got to get ready for this year.
Yeah, man, hopefully we got somebody else on the payroll now that can handle that one, but yeah, so that was just, a big challenge, and we were doing it in a way short amount of time, but we still tried. And it was just one of those things that didn't work out. And, it was just one of those things we had to write off. Like, all right, you know what? We got next year to deal with that. Let's just get back to focusing on. So that was one of those things where I was like, oh, damn, I guess this not good. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
But then again, when you get into like a solar partnership, you set up a Zoom call, and then they start sending you roofs, and you're like, all right, wow, this is working. Then you start seeing other people in the company doing the same thing. We start growing exponentially. Then you start doing other things as well, like our website, bringing in other leads. And then once, things started coming into me as in the more of the sales type of role, and I saw how many sales I was making and just how busy I was and just how fast I was growing with just getting more and more calls. I thought I was busy, and then my phone would ring 3 or 4 times that day, and I'd have 4 more jobs. I'm like, wow, like I did not plan for this. Like I'm going to be working late, but once when you have those days, that's when I started realizing like, damn, this is really taking off. And like I said, I mean, I'm only in the role for like 6-7 months, and imagine in a year or 2 years from now when I'm gonna have to get a separate phone number. It's because it's constant. You know? So
no, I kind of feel the same way too. Like my point that I really just knew that this was like something magical is when I went to SolarCon back in April. And I was walking around, and I literally, I had food poisoning the day before. I think I remember telling you that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm super, super sick. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and just meet Mike McCain, who's our GM out in Utah. I was like, I'm going to go meet him at SolarCon day 1. I'm going to try to limp through it for like an hour or 2. I'm going to talk to a couple people, and I'm going home. And I was there 6 hours. I didn't stop pitching or talking a single time. Like I went from one booth. I was like, oh, that's all I got, Mike. I'm leaving. And like as soon as I took one step, like, hey, Cody, Reimagine Roofing.
Yeah.
And I see your YouTube video, and I'm just like, wow,
great.
we are really that ingrained in the solar industry, and we're really making that much of an impact. And it just all kind of clicked for me. I was like, we're on to something truly special here, not just something that's going to be really good. I love like always asking people in the company when like you had that one oh my god moment, like in that other moment, like wow, I'm here. And I remember when you told me that that you had that first big month, and you were like telling me like every day my phone's just ringing like crazy. And when you started your phone, I don't think we had a single lead.
No. Yeah, exactly. I was like, one of those moments, and then all of a sudden that quickly turned into like, like I'm going to be working 14 hours today, So a great problem to have. And I mean, that's just a testament to, a lot of the work that you've put in, the foundation that you laid, and just this whole system that you've figured out, because it really is like almost like a cheat code, and the ideas and the structures that you've put into place here is one of the reasons why I decided to come over, is because when I spoke to you and you had those visions and everything that you were saying, I was like, this guy could be really solving a major problem for a huge industry, and I could be a part of that. And I know that with my experience, like I don't know where I'm going to fit in, but I know that I'll work my ass off, and I know that I'll fit in somewhere. So, that was my whole view on it.
Yeah, awesome. And so what does the future hold for you? What are some future goals? And also, are they kind of total number of roof sales, sell a roof in 20 states, or what does your future look like, in the short term and the long term?
So, short term, obviously just, I'd love to close some of those bigger commercial deals, get some of those ones on my plate. 'Cause if I can do exactly what I'm doing on the retail side and with the, cliffhangers, helping our solar partners close their deals, I'd like to get some more commercial deals in there, because I know that'll help my bottom line and the company, of course, as well. So getting some of those bigger jobs in. Okay. I've been spending a little bit more time working on that when I get free time. So
I got a goal for you next year. You should shoot for the 111 club. I just made it up, but we should make it a roofing thing. 1 million in commercial, 1 million in residential retail, 1 million in insurance.
That's a good one. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's all very feasible. With where we're at, that's very doable.
Because you did this year, you said 1.15 so far, and a million of that at least is retail, and maybe like 150,000, insurance or so.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So you're already hitting that retail. You got insurance rocking now, and then you were just telling me your next goal is that commercial side. So I think in 2023 we go for the 3 million club, 111.
That'd be beautiful. Yeah, and $1 million in commercial shouldn't be as hard as it is in residential, because I mean, you're getting bigger roofs, bigger projects. So all you need is 5 or 6 of them, and you should get there. So definitely looking forward to that. Long term, I think I really enjoy mentoring other people that come into the organization. So I definitely consider myself a sales leader. I've always been. So I think long-term, kind of spending more time doing that, which is really what the last few weeks have been for me as well. So I really enjoy doing that. So I think more of that is in the future. love Arizona, but I want to also get back by my family too. I got my mother in South Carolina. So that was like one of the experiments when I went out there for last month, was seeing how good I could do remote. And I had one of my best months ever, you know? So I kind of wanted to prove it to myself that could work if I wanted to do that, because I want to continue to do what I'm doing. But I would also love to be by my mother. You know, she's out there. So I would like to be. My brother's trying to move out there too. So I think that would be like a long-term goal, and then really trying to explode the East Coast and really take all of the knowledge that I've now acquired in Arizona at the core, you know, of the company, take all of that stuff and try to really blow the East Coast up for us.
It's prime.
Because, you know, we're crushing Arizona, crushing California. I'd love to be a part of really blowing up Reimagine Roofing, the whole East Coast, especially in the South there. But again, New York roots, you know, and South Carolina, I'd love to handle all of that stuff in between. So that's my really long-term vision for what I would like to do.
What's your timeline on that? Are you looking like 6 months, a year? What are you kind of, what are
a year, I would say. I'd like to put another year in, you know, before I really think I can be comfortable with my level of knowledge and expertise and all just the inner workings of the company as we grow. Because things change so fast, you know, as we grow so fast. So I think putting another year out here, getting you know, into the actual weeds of the company, I think that would put me in a better position to go out there and just really be able to, you know, kind of replicate what you've done and try to help kind of, you know, take a little bit off of your plate and replace some of your time with having to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the only challenge I see would be the time zone. You're going to have homeowners calling you at 8 o'clock Arizona. It's going to be 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I learned that last time I was out there. I was like, oh, man, it was like 11 o'clock at night. My phone's ringing for a customer trying to sign a document. You know, my mother's like, isn't it 11 o'clock at night right now? I'm like, well, not on the West Coast, you know? So, yeah, that is a challenge. But I actually enjoy working late. I don't mind working late.
Just shifting your schedule. Maybe you'd work like 12 to 12 or something instead of like,
exactly, you know, and then maybe in the morning I go play golf instead of at 6 o'clock, or go to the, you know what I mean, or go to the gym, whatever I want to do. Then the morning's freed up, so it's just a schedule adjustment. I'm used to that because I've been going back and forth from South Carolina and to California. You know, I lived in San Diego for 7 years or 6 years, and I would constantly be going back and forth, and you know, I always have a job to do, so it's just a time change.
For sure.
But yeah, that's
any other big personal goals on, you know, either fitness, health, any financial goals, trying to buy a house, anything like that?
I want to buy a fourplex.
Okay.
I want to buy a fourplex in Charleston, South Carolina. So like that was one of the things, like in my transition out there, I would love to purchase a fourplex, live in one unit, take the breaks that you get, you know, and then establish that property, do some improvements, and then I have some cash flow coming in. I own a nice fourplex, and then I'll buy myself a house. So that's my tip of the day. Buy an investment property first, and then buy the house you want, and you could pay for it with the cash flow from the other. You know?
Well, that sounds like an amazing tip, an amazing thing to wrap this up on. So again, we appreciate you guys chiming in. We got Jeff Ramsden here. Really, really awesome story. I really thank you for all the impact you've made in the company and all the growth that you've had professionally and personally, and you're just a testament to what hard work and putting your nose down and grinding can really do. So we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Thanks for having me.